The story opens with Marcus Webb being escorted by royal guards through the crystalline corridors of the Valthran Imperial Palace, his mind racing through every interaction of the past week, trying to identify what he did wrong. He's a human trade negotiator, assigned to facilitate Earth's commercial agreements with the Valthran Empire. Routine diplomatic work that shouldn't involve personal summons from Queen Thessara herself. But 2 days ago, there had been an incident. Marcus had discovered discrepancies in shipping manifests, medical supplies destined for frontier colonies that mysteriously disappeared in transit. He'd reported it through proper channels, assuming the Valthran administration would handle investigation internally. What he didn't expect was for his report to trigger a political earthquake that apparently reached all the way to the throne. Now rumors are flying through the palace. The queen is furious, heads are about to roll, figuratively, hopefully, and the human who started it all is being summoned for immediate judgment. Marcus's diplomatic training tells him to stay calm, but his survival instincts are screaming that walking into throne room of an enraged alien monarch is terrible life choice. The guards bring him to the massive entrance of the Grand Assembly Chamber, where the entire court has apparently been summoned. Hundreds of Valthran nobles, officials, and dignitaries fill the space, all turning to watch as Marcus is led through their ranks toward the raised dais where Queen Thessara sits. Queen Thessara is imposing, her long, elegantly swept-back ears adorned with platinum bands marking her royal status, her silver eyes carrying an intensity that makes Marcus feel like he's being evaluated at the molecular level. Her posture radiates controlled fury, and the entire assembly seems to be holding its breath. Marcus is brought to stand directly beside the throne, not before it, where petitioners usually stand, but beside it on the dais itself. This positioning sends visible shock through the court. Standing beside the throne is reserved for the queen's most trusted advisors, her closest family, or those she wishes to honor publicly. Marcus is none of these things. He's a mid-level human negotiator who filed a logistics report. Queen Thessara stands, and the chamber falls into absolute silence. When she speaks, her voice carries authority that seems to resonate through the crystalline architecture itself. 3 days ago, Marcus Webb of Earth submitted a report documenting irregularities in medical supply shipments to our frontier colonies. He followed proper administrative channels, trusting that our systems would address the discrepancy with appropriate investigation. She pauses, her fury palpable but clearly not directed at Marcus. What he could not have known is that his report exposed a conspiracy reaching into the highest levels of my court, officials who have been systematically diverting resources meant for our most vulnerable citizens, profiting from suffering while hiding behind bureaucratic complexity they believed would shield them from discovery. The assembly erupts in murmurs. Queen Thessara raises a hand, and silence returns instantly. For 5 years, this corruption has existed beneath my notice. For 5 years, my people suffered while nobles enriched themselves and covered their tracks through layers of administrative deception. And it took a human trade negotiator, someone with no political power, no personal stake in our internal affairs, to notice discrepancies and report them through proper channels without hesitation or calculation. She turns to Marcus for the first time, her expression shifting from fury to something more complex. You could have ignored what you found. You could have decided it was not your concern, that interfering in Valthran internal matters would create diplomatic complications. You could have reported it privately to me and sought personal favor. You did none of these things. Marcus finds his voice, though it's considerably less steady than he'd like. Your Majesty, the numbers didn't match. Medical supplies for sick people were disappearing. That needed to be reported. It wasn't complicated. That is precisely what makes it significant. Queen Thessara addresses the court again. Our oldest laws speak of the standard of simple justice, the principle that true righteousness requires neither political sophistication nor personal advantage. One should act correctly simply because correctness matters. We have become so enmeshed in political calculation that we lost sight of this standard. A human reminded us. She gestures for Marcus to stand even closer, positioning him as if presenting him to the assembly. I summoned Marcus Webb not to punish, but to honor. He fulfilled the standard of simple justice that our own nobility abandoned. By standing beside my throne, he becomes recognized as one whose character I trust above those who have spent years maneuvering for position. Several nobles look genuinely shaken. Others appear calculating, clearly reassessing their own positions in light of this unexpected development. Marcus is trying very hard not to pass out from stress and confusion. Queen Thessara continues, her voice carrying steel underneath the formal pronouncement. Let it be recorded, Marcus Webb of Earth is granted the title of Royal Witness, one who reports truth without fear, favor, or calculation. His word carries weight equal to my senior advisors. His protection is equivalent to attacking the crown itself. She turns to Marcus again, speaking more quietly but still audibly to the front sections of the assembly. You expected punishment. I see it in your posture. You thought reporting corruption would create problems for you. Marcus nods shakily. Yes, Your Majesty. I thought maybe I'd overstepped diplomatic boundaries or that the report would be seen as interference. You reported injustice through proper channels and trusted our systems to respond correctly. That is not overstepping. That is the highest form of respect, believing we would uphold our own values when confronted with their violation. Her expression softened slightly. My fury is not with you, Marcus Webb. My fury is with those who betrayed their positions, who profited from suffering, who made my empire less than it should be. You simply illuminated darkness I should have seen myself. As the assembly is dismissed, with several high-ranking officials being immediately detained by royal guard for investigation, Marcus remains on the dais, still trying to process that he went from expecting expulsion to being granted formal position in the Valthran court. Queen Thessara sits back on her throne, her earlier fury settling into something like exhaustion. You may speak freely, Marcus Webb. We are alone now, relatively speaking. She gestures to the few remaining guards, all maintaining professional distance. Marcus takes a breath. Your Majesty, I don't understand. I filed a report. That's basic due diligence, not heroic action. Why does that warrant? Whatever just happened. Because basic due diligence is apparently heroic in environments where political calculation supersedes simple correctness. Thessara's voice carries weary honesty now. You saw wrong and reported it without asking, how does this benefit me? Or, what political capital can I gain? You simply did what was right because it was right. That perspective is valuable beyond measure in halls where everyone else is constantly calculating advantage. She looks at him directly, her silver eyes less intimidating and more human, or Valthran in her case. I need someone who will continue seeing wrong and reporting it without political filter. Someone whose instinct is correctness rather than calculation. You didn't seek this role, but you've proven yourself capable of it through action rather than ambition. Marcus considers this. Your Majesty, I'm a trade negotiator. I'm not qualified for royal advisory positions. You're qualified by character, which matters more than credentials. The title grants you protection and authority, but the actual role is simple. Continue doing what you've been doing. Notice discrepancies. Report problems. Trust that correctness matters more than political convenience. She pauses. I am surrounded by brilliant political minds who can calculate 17 moves ahead. What I lack is someone who will look at situation and simply ask, is this right? Without layering political complexity over basic moral clarity. Over the following months, Marcus navigates his unexpected role, officially a trade negotiator, unofficially the Queen's conscience check on court matters. He attends meetings where nobles present elaborate plans, and his job is apparently to ask obvious questions like, but does this actually help people? Or are we sure this isn't just enriching the people proposing it? The questions are often uncomfortable. They sometimes expose schemes that looked sophisticated until someone asked simple questions about their actual ethics. And they make Marcus simultaneously valued by Queen Thessara and resented by nobles whose careful plans get derailed by human asking, "Why exactly are we doing this?" When a delegation from Earth visits and asks Marcus how he ended up with such an elevated position, he gives his characteristic simple explanation. "I noticed medical supplies going missing and filed a report." Apparently, that was rare enough behavior to be considered extraordinary. Now, I mostly ask obvious questions at meetings and try not to get assassinated by annoyed nobles. But Thessara, overhearing, provides more complete context. Marcus Webb reminded my court that correctness doesn't require political sophistication, just willingness to see wrong and report it honestly. He stood calmly in path of my fury, not knowing it wasn't directed at him, and proved through that calm